Here we go. It's the HUBCast on Tuesday. What is today? October 25th with Max Harnett, Russell Wenrich. I'm Adam Alexander. We're glad you're here. And now we have cut the chase field in half from 16 to 12 and now 12 to 8. All chase drivers winning in the round of 12. Joey Logano completing that sweep over the weekend after Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Harvick had already won. Guys, your reaction to what we saw Sunday afternoon at Talladega?
I loved it. Edge of your seat kind of race. The whole race, you're kind of watching. You're watching the points battle going on with Brad was leading. Obviously, that shook everything up, but then he went out. Martin Truex Jr. had already gone out, so it was a lot to watch, a lot to keep up with, but I thought it was a good race.
I was surprised we had two big engine failures. The guys that started 1-2 both had an engine failure, and then no real big ones, which was a big surprise to me.
Yeah.
So that kind of takes me to Max's point and playing off of what you guys said there. I think about Talladega, and obviously it's one of those dates you circle on the calendar. I mean, it's must see. You said edge of your seat. Edge of your seat because of the chase implications or just in general what you saw on track?
I think both. I think anytime you go to Daytona or Talladega, it's kind of edge of your seat because the way guys move, everything can all kind of come crashing down at once. But particularly with the chase implications on the line, you're kind of watching those guys move throughout the field, keeping an eye on those point standings. I think that's why it was so captivating for me, is watching guys that needed a win get to the front versus guys that already had a win out leading, stuff like that.
It was exciting until both Truex and Keselowski went out. Once they went out,
killed some drama.
It really killed it because you was down to basically two guys at that point.
But coming down to the checkered flag when you're watching Denny Hamlin and Austin Dillon, knowing that they're going to be close on that final spot and how those guys could maneuver, that's just as exciting as to who was going to win the race.
No, it really was good watching those two go at it. And we recapped it Monday on Race Hub. And you lose sight of how tight it really is. And any time those two drivers end in a tie, certainly there's a lot to analyze because one spot makes a difference. And a couple of things that were interesting to me. Denny led a lap in every race in round 2 of the chase.
Yeah.
So that means he kind of maximized those potential bonus points. Austin led a lap at Talladega, led laps at Kansas, did not at Charlotte.
Right.
You think about the restart when he gets turned.
Yeah.
I mean, if he just got back to the start-finish line first, he's going to be credited with leading that lap. He's moving on. I mean, something that small can be the difference in being a part of the round of 8 or being eliminated early.
Now you know why people try to lead a lap.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't ever want to jeopardize where you're going to finish in a race, but as a crew chief, if you can play the strategy game and say, stay out here to lead a lap, that can be such a big difference maker and certainly would have been. And 2 years in a row, we have seen drivers tie at the end of a round. Saw it last year with Dale Jr., Jamie McMurray at Dover, and again on Sunday with Denny Hamlin and, of course, Austin Dillon. I think about Talladega. And when this format was announced originally, and I started paring down the schedule into those 3 race increments, I looked and I said 2 that really excite me. Elimination race at Dover, which is very unpredictable and just a very entertaining type of place when you talk about elimination being on the line. To me, Talladega is the ultimate.
Yeah.
But the schedule's out for 2017, and Talladega will be race 2 in round 2 instead of the elimination race. Where are you guys at with that? I know the competitors like that. They don't want the fate of their future to be in the hands of Talladega, but from a fan's perspective, I think we like what we see. Where do you guys weigh in?
I really like it. I think the reason I like it so much is the unpredictability of it. The fact that you have to be glued to your television for that whole race because something's going to change on every lap. And we saw that play out with Truex going out and Brad Keselowski getting out. I mean, even Denny Hamlin speeding and Joey Logano dragging his jack around the track. It's like all these things have big implications. And I don't think you get that every single lap at some of these other tracks. I think Dover's about as close as you can get to unpredictability to Talladega in the chase. And so I personally really like it as an elimination race.
I like it too, but the benefit of it not being a cut race, you're not going to have Joe Gibbs Racing riding around out back.
Yep.
You're going to have everybody trying to finish in the top 10.
How much? Because I'm never one to Monday morning quarterback the race and be critical of the product. Every weekend we have a different set of circumstances that helps the race play out one way or another. Maybe it's a long green flag run, and so it becomes more of a strategy race than it is about the true side-by-side competition. Maybe we have a lot of cautions late and we get a bunch of restarts, and so it's whoever's best on restarts.
Sure.
There are so many different circumstances that play in to making the race what it is. Talladega typically is a venue that's somewhat foolproof. You know you're going to be entertained at a place like Daytona or Talladega.
Yeah.
If you were to rate Sunday's race by Talladega standards, not an event that we're going to be talking about for years to come.
No.
Not to say it was bad, but just not one of those red letter dates in Talladega Superspeedway history. How much of that do you think was made because it was an elimination race and you had guys that said, I'm going to hang in the back and just survive and advance? I think that's a contributing factor when this race is an elimination event. You guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree with that. But I'm also kind of under the mindset that I don't think every year, if you kept Talladega as the elimination race, I don't think you're going to get into this situation every year. I don't think you're going to get into a situation where 5 guys had really bad either first or second race and put themselves so far behind where guys like Matt Kenseth didn't matter where they finished, they were going to move on. I think it's going to be, if you were to keep that at that spot, I think most races would end up being closer where guys wouldn't be able to just hang out in the back and ride around.
The other thing I'd say too, and you hit on this, Russell, by taking out Martin Truex Jr. and Brad Keselowski, who came in right around the cut line. Martin had a little bit of an advantage, plus 13. Brad was -6, I think, coming into the race, -6, -7, somewhere in there. So you throw them into the mix late. Mm-hmm. Now you've added to the drama of what we saw with Austin Dillon and Denny Hamlin. So you got 2 more guys that you're talking about there. Or what if you put Austin Dillon or Denny Hamlin at the front where they need to win? And what comes to mind is Brad Keselowski 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. If a guy's leading on the final lap at Talladega and the only way he advances is by winning, I don't care how good or bad you would say the race is, you have instant drama and you know anything can change.
Yeah.
The other thing I like about Talladega's elimination race is the fact that if you have a problem, like Denny Hamlin, who was caught speeding, or Joey Logano, who drugged the jack around and was penalized for taking equipment out of the box, you're going to have a chance to get back in the game because the draft allows you to do that.
Sure.
I mean, you're really never out of it at Daytona or Talladega unless you're involved in an accident and you have to spend time in the garage. I love the opportunity to come back after a problem, which to me further adds to the drama. You go to a place like Kansas, which will be the elimination race next year, you get a tire down and have to make an unscheduled pit stop, you're a little bit at the mercy of a caution flag coming at the right time and getting your lap back so that you can get back in the game. That, I think you lose that element, which is a little bit disappointing to me.
Well, and the other thing I think is a little deceiving about those guys riding around the back is I think you would see similar plays even at a place like Kansas. I don't think they go right around the back, but a late caution, they may come get 4 tires and fuel rather than 2 tires and staying out. It's that same kind of mentality of let's just do what's best for us so that we can move on, not necessarily risking as much to go get a win.
And I will say this, in this format of the chase, I don't care where we're racing, and I don't care what the circumstances of the race are. You have drama based on the fact that in a couple of races, guys are being eliminated. And it's always going to be tight. I mean, unless you've won a race, you have reason to carry some anxiety. So this format of the chase is going to add its fair share of drama. We're zooming way in to evaluate this thing. But I think at the end of the day, I would much rather see Talladega as an elimination race. Obviously, it's not going to be in 2017.
And those Gibbs guys earned that right to ride around out back.
Absolutely.
With what they did in the first 2 races. So
That's our next topic. And a lot of people beating up the guys from Joe Gibbs Racing. Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, they were right there 28th, 29th, 30th. They all finished together, did exactly what they needed to do to move on to the round of 8. Denny Hamlin had to work a little harder to earn his keep, but he did exactly what had to happen, finished up in the top 5, and as we said, got the tiebreaker over Austin Dillon. I'm of the theory that you do whatever you can to move on, because at this stage of the season, there's one trophy you want. And while you'd love to get the trophy at Talladega or in the next 3 weeks, Martinsville, Texas, or Phoenix, you want the big trophy when you leave Homestead. And that's what those guys had in mind, and it is perfectly within their right. As you said, they earned the opportunity to ride the back and play it safe. Fans are crushing these guys for doing that. They're bringing up the 100% rule that came into play when Michael Waltrip Racing had their issues a couple of years ago to help drivers advance into the chase. Where do you guys weigh in with what you saw on Sunday?
They 100% earned it. Like, that was their right to do that. That's totally within the rules to do, and that's what they needed to do to get it done. And it played out perfectly for them, because once Keselowski and Truex went out, that's all they needed to do. They were waiting around for something like that to happen, and then once it happened, they didn't have to do anything else.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault them for doing what they did. I think they did exactly what they needed to do, and I don't really have a problem with it. I don't think it wasn't the whole field that just elected not to race each other. You had a few guys hanging out back. I don't think it really affected the product that much. I don't see it as a huge detriment to the race or anything like that. A few guys played it smart and hung out back. We've seen Jimmy Johnson, Dale Jr. A couple of years ago follow the back of the pack and ride around the draft together, and then waited to the end of the race to make a move. These guys didn't make a move at the end of the race, but
because they didn't need to.
They didn't need to, so I really don't have a problem with it at all.
They weren't the only guys doing this on Sunday.
No.
And certainly, as you said, not the only guys we have seen employed this strategy when it comes to restrictor plate racing. So I think, certainly we agree. I understand the frustration of the fans. Someone I saw on Twitter that sent me a note said, last year they went to an NBA game late in the regular season. They wanted to see the stars play. They were resting their starters because they were getting ready for the playoffs, and they wanted their money back. I get that. I totally understand that. And I've had similar frustrations when it comes to the NBA. And I think to a guy, like Michael, I think back to Michael Jordan. You and I've had this conversation. Michael came to play every night. I think, one, we're in a little bit of a different era of sports, but I think, two, NASCAR is different. And Larry Mack brought this point up on the show Monday on NASCAR Race Hub, and that is, if you're a football team and you've got a lead with under 2 minutes to play,
you pull your starting quarterback.
Well, you might pull your starting quarterback.
Starting running back, starting lineman.
But you take the snap and you take a knee and you run the clock out.
Yeah.
You're a Patriots fan. You'd like Tom Brady. You'd love for Tom Brady to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in every game. But if he's thrown for $180 and 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, you don't want him trying to improve his stat line if he can take a knee, and the Patriots are going to win the game.
Absolutely.
So
victory formation, right?
Yeah,
That's what they call it in NASCAR.
Absolutely.
Football, call that NASCAR.
Yeah. And I said to David Reagan, you got to have speed to win a championship. You got to have a little luck to win a championship. And sometimes you just have to be smart. And I'll tell you what, Kyle Busch taking a little bit of a risk because he had this same strategy 2 years ago, came in with a 26-point advantage over the cut, and despite riding in the back, he got wrecked. This strategy is not foolproof, but it is the smartest, and when you play the numbers, the right thing to do in order to advance when you're in the situation that they were in. I think we all cleared up.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Martinsville this weekend.
One of my favorite tracks on the schedule. Love Martinsville.
I like Martinsville too. In fact, I think we all agree. I mean, this is kind of a throwback from every aspect of the word or phrase. I mean, that's what this is all about. And I think the setting in Martinsville, Virginia is great. You just got this small town in Virginia, and you come up the highway, and there it is, this little flat half-mile track, and always does really good with a crowd, and Clay Campbell and his group do an outstanding job of promoting the race, and love going to Martinsville. Train tracks across the back straightaway. There's just so much about this place that screams NASCAR. Love going up there. And it's trucks and cup, which it's been that way for a number of years now. So it's a great Saturday and a great Sunday of racing. The opening round of this chase is going to be Sunday afternoon. Could that be changing in years to come? We found out a couple of weeks ago that Martinsville is going to add lights, be ready for the 2017 season. So that's got everybody talking about, how are they going to change things? what would be your best recommendation if you were going to get on a conference call with Clay Campbell and how to use these lights to better enhance your schedule? What do you guys think?
Go ahead.
To me, it's a backup plan. I think it's a great plan that when you have fans there on Sunday and you get rain, you've got all day or all night to get the race in and not have to move it to a Monday. For me personally, I like day racing. I think 1 o'clock on Sunday is the best time to go racing. I think when you
At Martinsville or just universally?
Universally. I think having a couple night races on the schedule is great. Like the Bristol night race is a staple. But for the most part, I support racing Sunday afternoon when you can get the track as hot and as slick as possible. I think it changes strategies. I think it requires more talent from the drivers. I think it creates better racing. And to me, that's the best time to watch a race, is to sit down on your couch at 1 o'clock on a Sunday and enjoy it. To me, is the best. I think they should leave it where the races are at.
Russell, what's your recommendation?
I hate this, but I completely agree with Max.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Because you have, like, Martinsville is not a big city. Like, there's not a lot of people around there. So everybody that goes to that race comes from, I'd say, at least 1 hour to 3 hours away.
Yeah.
So if you're coming to a race, you want to be able to come in early in the morning, get there by 1 o'clock, and then be able to get home before midnight. So I think that allows you to do that. And having those lights as an insurance policy allows us to not have to cancel a race to Monday because we can't get in. Like, it gets dark now at 6:30,
Really
7
early.
o'clock. So this time of year. So if you can extend your racing period for inclement weather, that's an advantage.
Think about the Jeff Gordon celebration when he won there a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was nighttime.
Dark.
I mean, day race
Yeah.
didn't get extended by any circumstances, weather, red flag, or anything like that. But he was celebrating in the dark, which added to the drama of that moment.
Sure.
Well, and it's darker there than it seemed on TV, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
TV makes it look bright.
Right.
But let me throw this out there. And this conversation has been had, and this is not an original thought. One thing is, when's the last time that you went to Martinsville and didn't pack a jacket? Whether it be the spring or the fall. When's the last time you went up there and you didn't pack a jacket?
I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, whether it be this fall weekend when we go up there in late October or when we go up there in the early portion of April in the spring, it's always pretty chilly in Martinsville, Virginia. Now, you may get a day where it warms up into the low 80s or something like that.
But it's going to be 40s, 50s when you get there.
But in the morning, it's cool, and when you leave in the evening and that sun's gone down, it's pretty chilly. If they are going to run a night race, they can't do it in their current slot on the calendar. They just can't do it. I mean, you're just going to tell fans don't come because it's cold. Because the fans that come understand that. I don't think you can run a race in their current weekend at night. Number one. Number two, I would throw out there, what about the potential, if they did shift dates, of running there on a Wednesday night and doing a midweek race? And the reason I say maybe it's possible at Martinsville, more so than some of the other venues where you may think about this.
It's closer.
Well, it is close for the teams.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is, as you said, their core fan base is in the region. Mm-hmm. People aren't, you may go from Indiana to Las Vegas for a race. Mm-hmm. But less likely that you're going to make that trip to Martinsville. They have a good core group that are in the region, which makes a night race a little more doable because you can get home when it's over. What do you think? What's your guys' reaction to a potential midweek night race at Martinsville?
I don't like it because you're still going to get home late. Like anybody that drove 2 hours, you're not going to be able to get off property for an hour. Mm-hmm. So then you have a 2-hour drive home. So now you're talking 2 a.m. by the time you get home. If you want kids to come, you can't have kids do that. So I'm against the night race at Martinsville. Like we have 14 other tracks with lights. We can do a midweek race at those where they have a bigger population that's going to come to the race from within there.
The other thing I would say too, a few years ago, Xfinity Series went to Martinsville, and that's something we hadn't seen. They did that once or twice. I know
2 years.
2 years in a row, yeah.
Well, maybe one. Harvick won one.
Yeah, I know Harvick won. I can't remember
Could've
if
just
they won
been
a
1
second
year.
time. It might have been
It was
just
1
one.
year.
But that was a Saturday event, and if I remember, it was late afternoon on a
Late
Saturday.
afternoon.
Maybe the potential with lights opens up either one doing a truck standalone where they're not there both weekends with Cup, which I don't anticipate that they would do that, but that's one possibility. Or if the Xfinity Series were to put Martinsville on the calendar, perhaps they run there in June or July and it becomes a night race. We'll continue to monitor what they do and how they utilize the addition at Martinsville Speedway. 4 Toyotas left. All 4 Toyotas from Joe Gibbs Racing advanced to the round of 8. They join a couple of Chevrolets from Stewart Haas, Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch moving on, and the 2 single car guys without any teammates, Joey Logano, the only Ford from Team Penske, and Jimmy Johnson, who's going for his 7th championship. Real quick, where would you rather be? In the Gibbs camp or the Stewart Haas camp where you have a teammate in? Or would you rather be a Joey Logano, Jimmy Johnson, so you don't have a teammate and it's all about you? It's an easy question to answer, right?
Yeah, I'd rather be Jimmy Johnson. I'd rather be the only guy from my team where I don't have to worry about anybody. It's me or the highway. I mean, you don't have to worry about battling or not battling a guy like we saw with Edwards and Busch a couple races ago.
Yeah.
None of that. You just go out. It's all about you. Don't worry about it.
You agree with that, Russell?
I agree if you're just talking about the driver, but if you're Rick Hendrick, I'd rather be in Joe Gibbs' situation.
Oh, no question about that. No question.
But I think it's still like everybody's going to be working for the ultimate goal to get all 4 teams to Homestead.
So with that, how many of those Gibbs guys make it to Homestead? What do you guys think?
3. I'm going with 3.
Ooh. Wow.
Who are you leaving out? Not at Gibbs. I'm just talking about what drivers aren't going to make it. Who joins
Gibbs,
them there?
Who at Gibbs are you leaving?
Yeah, who are your 3 Gibbs guys that make it?
This is big.
I'd go with Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Matt Kenseth.
Okay.
They all going to win this round?
No. Based on the last couple of years, 3 of the guys have gotten in via points to the final round, and I think you could see something very similar to that this year.
What do you think, Russell? How many make it?
I think 2 make it.
And what 2?
Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin.
Mm-hmm. I would pick 2, and I would pick Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, I think. But the Matt Kenseth is a hard one for me because he has been a model of consistency in the chase. Good. And we know at least one guy is going to make it on points, for sure. Mm-hmm. But with Martin Truex being out and Brad Keselowski being out and Chase Elliott, who I think is a threat, and throw in Kyle Larson and, Jeff Gordon running this weekend in the 88 at Martinsville. I mean, there's a pretty long list of potential winners in the next 3 races that aren't a part of this championship equation, which means you could have at least 2 guys point their way to Homestead.
Yeah.
And that's where I think Kenseth becomes a big threat because of how consistent he is.
I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if Kenseth or Edwards made it there. But you have to look at, like Max said before, that they're not all going to win. You didn't have Jimmy Johnson's never been in this round before. Yep. He's going to win at Texas, for sure.
It's a lock.
For sure, it's a lock. Then you have Denny Hamlin. He's going to probably win at Martinsville, or Kyle Busch, who won there in the spring. And then you look at Phoenix. Harvick's going to win there. So you're going to have 3 winners this round. Okay. 3 chase winners this round.
That would be the first time that chasers had swept this round of the chase, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I know they didn't last year, but 2 years ago they didn't.
Well, because the other guys that have won
have
won this round are Jimmy and Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon, who aren't there.
Because 2 years in a row, Jimmy and Dale Jr. have upset the Chase apple cart in this round. Mm-hmm. Kevin Harvick won Phoenix 2 years ago, and last year Jeff Gordon won at Martinsville. Those are the only 2 Chase drivers to win in the round of 8.
Correct.
Because 2 years ago, Dale Jr. won at Martinsville, Jimmy won at Texas, and last year Jimmy won at Texas, Dale Jr. won at Phoenix. Okay. All right, give me your...
What do you think? You think 2?
I said 2. I said Denny and Kyle. I say Denny and Kyle, and I say joining them there will be Kevin and Jimmy Johnson. Who do you say joins? Because you say the same as me. And who joins the trio from Joe Gibbs Racing?
Kevin Harvick with a win at Phoenix.
Okay, good. All right, so that cleans up the questions we had slated. Now we got some questions from CJ.
Yeah.
You get excited when we get to this portion of the show, CJ?
Yeah, I'm watching the clock. I'm like, there's 5 more minutes, and I'll finally get to talk.
That's good though, right? We left you 5
no,
minutes.
It's exactly.
Yeah,
But,
and we didn't start early today. Ben wanted to start early. We didn't start early, so we got right at 5 minutes.
Exactly at 3 o'clock. I'm pretty proud of that one.
Yeah.
So we had quite a few people chime in. Thank you guys for sending those. And every week we've been doing a quick preview video with Adam. You can always leave your comments there or on the stream that we're on now if you want to submit questions.
I'm going to start commenting on the preview. I think.
Yeah, you can do that.
Questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we need your comments.
Edward in Illinois. He wants to know, can you explain exactly what the part was and what it does that was confiscated from the 78 team, and do you know what was wrong with it?
He knows that Larry McReynolds is not on this show, right?
Yes.
Luckily, I had Larry Mack in my office all weekend.
Oh, did he
explaining
tell you
to
all
me.
about it? You want to add on this, Max? I don't talk tech, man. That gets me in big.
I know what it was.
Go
You
ahead.
do?
Yeah. So it was a jack bolt that raises and lowers the front end. That was drilled out, like they have to drill out the center to get the wrench in there, and it was drilled too far down.
Okay.
No competitive advantage. No trying to break the rules. We most likely will not see a penalty, as Scott Miller said.
In fact, running a piece like that at Talladega is actually probably
A disadvantage.
more of a safety hazard than a competitive advantage,
Yeah.
just because of the.
It was just a screw up
Of
on
reliability.
on them putting it in there.
Yeah.
It's not.
That was Ed from Illinois?
Ed from Illinois.
Is he a
Well, I
Cubs
didn't know
fan?
that one.
Did he say?
He didn't say,
Okay,
but I would.
because
I
you
would
got the World Series on Fox tonight. So
Yeah.
That's
And you know,
absolutely.
the last time the Cubs were in the World Series, Martinsville wasn't even built.
Is that right?
You believe that?
Was the United States even a country then? The last time the Cubs were in the World Series?
Won it?
Okay.
Not. I think Hawaii and Alaska were still.
Still waiting on
outstanding.
them?
Yeah.
Okay.
46 states.
All right. Becky in California. She says, I still can't figure out exactly why Kevin Harvick was so mad with Kurt Busch. What are your thoughts on his actions after the race?
Well, this has been my thing always with Kevin Harvick. If you're going to be, you're going to play the role he plays, which is kind of the role of the bully. That's a full-time job. You don't take vacation from that job, right? I mean,
No.
he is upset, and if you're going to send a message, it doesn't matter if it's. Maybe Tony Stewart would get a free pass, but the other
Maybe.
38 guys, I mean, they are in
Maybe.
line. They're going to feel the wrath, I would say there was some form of miscommunication, and I think what makes it easy to look the other way and get over it is both drivers did advance. They're in the round of 8 reset, and I don't think we have any more problems with this.
And then the last one, Macy in North Dakota. She said, do you think this weekend will officially be the last time we see Jeff Gordon in a Cup car?
I do, yes. I don't think we'll see Jeff Gordon again.
I agree. I think this is it for Jeff. I think that's good for Jeff.
You think it's the
I
last
think
one?
so.
Win percentage for Jeff Gordon. What do you think this weekend? What percentage would you place on him having the potential to win and go out a victor at Martinsville?
3.
3%? You know he works for us. You could have to produce a show
3.
with him
Did
someday.
I say 3? I said 30.
30%. Okay, you better
I
clean
think like
that
3
up.
out of 4.
What would you say?
It's probably about 73 to 75%.
Wow, that's pretty high.
I got to work with them a couple months.
Yeah. I would say like probably 57% chance. And how we arrived at these numbers and what they mean, I have no idea.
If you add all the percentages together, it's
He's
pretty
like,
good.
yeah, he's got like 150% chance to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But I do think it will be his last one.
Okay.
No more questions? Do you have any
Well, yeah, we
questions,
have
CJ?
more. Yes,
All right, fire off one more. We
I
got
have.
time for
I
one more.
have. I always pick out a few. Jason in Vermont says, "Do you think Alex Bowman will win a race in the last 3? He gets better every time we see him in the 88."
I don't think he'll win just because of how strong these chase guys are. I mean, they just step up. But speed hasn't been a problem, and I think he's done himself a lot of favors with the effort he's put forth driving the 88.
Man, I feel bad for him. He's had some really strong runs filling in for Dale Jr.
I
and
thought
he has-
Sunday might be the day.
and just
I
doesn't
really
have
did.
just doesn't have the finishes to back it up. But I think he's proven how good he could be in a Cup car.
You were up there in that booth on Sunday. Was Junior glowing a little bit with that 88 running up front?
Yeah, but he was more after Chase Elliott too. So,
Oh, yeah.
because he wanted him to win to advance.
Yeah,
so.
to advance. Which
So,
would've
but
been a
he
great
was
story.
definitely with his Mountain Dew car. So
All right, we got 30 seconds left. Picks for Martinsville. Max?
I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin at Martinsville. You were going to go Denny Hamlin?
Yeah, I'll go
Oh,
Matt Kenseth.
That's
hold
a
on.
good pick.
I just want to be clear. You didn't pick Kenseth in your final four, but you're going to pick him at
Well,
Martinsville.
you took Denny Hamlin. I can't pick Denny Hamlin.
All
saying.
right, I'm going to pick. I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick. Wins at Martinsville this weekend.
you know, Max
goes
says
ahead and gets a free pass.
Max
and
said
Max
he's
said he's not
terrible
any
there.
good. Top 10,
terrible
6 the
there.
last day races.
Let's be clear.
Harvick, not
Terrible.
any good at
You said he's
Martinsville.
I
terrible
said
there.
I think there's the other guys in the chase are most of the guys in the chase are better at Martinsville than Kevin is.
No.
I think he's in the bottom four when we leave.
Your
Martinsville.
quote was, Kevin Harvick is terrible at Martinsville.
This conversation will be continued another place. Thank you for watching the HUBcast. We'll see you next week, and we'll see you for NASCAR Race Hub Monday to Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1.